Hello and welcome to Mystery Us. I'm Tony Pratt, your host for Mystery Us. And today on our program we have a very fascinating guest who is a astrologer, tarot interpreter, Reiki Master, teacher, and SMT practitioner. She's written astrology columns for Las Vegas Karaoke Magazine, appeared on numerous television programs as an astrologer and a singer, and she currently hosts her own blog talk radio program and is on WSCA Radio as their official on-air astrologer, the Cosmic Cupcake. She's a Scorpio with a rock and roll edge. Welcome to Mystery Us, Astrogirl Suzie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited.
Now, Astrogirl, you've got over 25 years experience interpreting charts and tarot cards, and this interest kind of began when you were a child watching sitcoms on television that featured some gypsies like the Andy Griffith Show. And tell us about how that all led into your gypsy lifestyle.
I was just, I was always that weird kid,
Yeah.
I was fascinated with astrology from, very early on. I think I had my first tarot deck. I grew up in Massachusetts, so Salem, that was our big, adventure. We would go out there all the time and see Laurie Cabot's shop and go to the Witch Museum and everything. And I got my first deck of tarot at the Witch Museum. It was the Gypsy Witch cards. And I just, and the connection with gypsies is just, I'm not one, that's not my heritage that I know of. I could be, but I just, as I grew up, that was a culture that always fascinated me. I loved the mystery of them and the colorful, clothing and the music that they played, and they were always telling people's fortunes, and that really resonated with me. And like I said, just being a Scorpio too, it's anything mysterious and unusual. I am a very typical Scorpio. So.
Right. Now you're also a singer, and you have a gypsy wagon. Which is really cool. Like on the Andy Griffith Show, the gypsies had a gypsy wagon, and they were always in the forest singing the song, "We are gypsies, wild and free." Do you sing things like that, or you have a different musical style?
Not yet. No. I've sung just about everything in my life. I mean, I started out singing. Oh God, I don't even know. I was singing stuff like Up With People and went into heavy rock and hardcore country and all kinds of stuff. So over the years, I've sung just about everything. But no, the gypsy music, as I was called to build this wagon, it was just an idea that came to me in a conversation I was having with somebody one day about, gee, wouldn't it be nice to have someplace, where we could do readings, like some, a mobile reading place. And I just looked at this guy and I went, I always wanted to build a gypsy wagon. And the next thing I know, I was writing a business plan and putting this whole thing together, and I had just, everything fell into place. I found the right person to build it. And so what I've been doing over the last month since, this whole thing came up is really crash coursing in the gypsy culture and learning as much as I can about it. The more you learn, the more you realize you'll never learn all of it. It's intentionally deceptive on many levels, and that's not a negative term. To them, it's just, they just don't want everybody knowing their business, and I get that. And but there's so much to it, and so the music, to tie that in, that's just a part of it. And I've just immersed myself in all this amazing what's called gypsy music, and it comes from everywhere. I mean, because that's what their culture is. It's from everywhere. They started out in India, but they've encompassed everything. And the wagon that I built it's a wagon that is in the style of, I believe it's pronounced Reading, England is where they were built. And it's the style that has the slanted walls and the curved roof.
It's really cool looking, and we'll have a clip of it and everything so people can watch. And let's just say we inserted the clip right here, and then people can see what the gypsy wagon looks like. And it's so authentic, even though it's not. I mean, that it just gives it more of a cultural experience, and also it's more private. That way, I guess if you go to big events and stuff, and there's all kind of people around, and you're trying to give somebody a reading, sometimes there can be distractions. But that way, you can kind of bring them into the gypsy wagon and give them a very personalized setting.
Yep.
Yep. Very cool.
And that's exactly what it does. And that was a big part of why I wanted to do it, was to have that experience be more intimate, because I get a lot of calls for parties and you know, I end up doing readings on somebody's ironing board in their bedroom, or you know,
right.
or you know, I mean, I've had businesses have me, you know, come to their openings or these big events that they've had, and they want to put me in the room where the band is playing and all the people are partying, and oh, you can just be over here in the corner. It's like,
right, yeah.
okay, you know, I can do fun readings. They don't all have to be serious, but you got to be able to hear me.
Sure.
So yeah, so this is perfect. It's like the food trucks, you know, they show up, everybody knows you're there. You know,
now, your radio show is called the Cosmic Cupcake?
Yeah,
that right?
That was a nickname I got.
Is that both radio shows, or just one of them is called it? Both of them?
Kind of. The nickname came from, there was an astrologer named Daryl Martini, and he was one of my heroes in Boston. I couldn't wait for his forecasts, you know, every week on WBCN, and he was such a character. I wish he was still around, because I would have loved to have met him. I never did meet him. Right. But he was nicknamed by Charles Laquadera, this DJ on WBCN. He was nicknamed the Cosmic Muffin from this really hilarious National Lampoon poem, and you can find that on YouTube. It's hilarious. And so, anyways, so when I started doing this radio show in New Hampshire with a friend of mine, I said, you know, he's like, yeah, you can be our very own Cosmic Muffin, and just Cosmic Cupcake came up, and so that's what he calls me. So I've kind of used that in different situations.
Now, aside from all of that, which is a lot, and we'll talk more about that, you're also a paranormal investigator, and you do serious investigations. And I mean, do you like clear houses, or I mean, what kind of? You told me recently you had a gig that you went out to, and tell us about that. Yep,
absolutely. Yeah, it's just, you know, when you get into the metaphysical world, and you've been in it as long as I have, it's like, you know, you just kind of do a lot of different things,
right?
Because you just know about stuff that most people don't, and so, but that is something that I've gotten into, and of course, you know, as ghost busting got really big, it was, you know, there's more opportunities to do that. But yeah, we just cleared for somebody in the family. Actually, they had some. It was mostly energy. It was really one entity, but the entity was from the land. They were kind of hanging in one room, but they were doing things like busting out light bulbs and shattering things, you know, and doors slamming, and it actually tipped over a table. There was like this person had a very heavy chair, like a barber chair kind of thing, and tipped it over one night. And so yeah, so we went through and cleared that. I didn't go and do that one alone, because I wasn't real sure about what that was going to be. But it was something from the land, and so basically, you know, I just told it, it's, you know, you can have the land, but you got to leave the house alone. The house is only 11 years old, so it really had no attachment to the house, thank goodness.
Right.
And they had a little baby, so I mean, it's good that we got rid of it.
These different types of entities that you're talking about, do you perceive them as former humans? Or that, you know, Brett and Gina Oldham were on here recently, and they were talking about that ghosts they define as spirits that are still here on this earth, and spirits are, and they call it just spirits, departed loved ones that are on the other side, but they can come back and forth, I guess. And so, is that how you feel about it? Or?
Yeah, there's earthbounds, which that's, you know, like us, and we're just stuck somewhere, and you know, we can't find our way into the light or whatever.
Right.
But then there's other entities. Yeah, there's dark beings and there's weird stuff that goes on. And you know, this planet is inhabited by all kinds of energies. It's all, you know, that's the bottom line though. It's all energy. Right. We're energy, it's all energy. But yeah, there's different types. And so yeah, you kind of have to go in and know what you're dealing with first before you can figure out what to do with it.
Right. Do you look at it?
We're energy, it's all energy. But yeah, there's different types. And so yeah, you kind of have to go in and know what you're dealing with first before you can figure out what to do with it.
Right. Do you look at it as a demonology, or I mean, is that a term you don't necessarily believe in, demons, or?
No, I mean, I you know, I shy away from some of those words, you know, like psychic and demons and that kind of thing, because they have such bizarre connotations and people freak out, and
it's got
especially
religious connotations
all
and
this
stuff.
religious stuff. But yeah, there's dark energies that are here. Yes, absolutely, they exist in the world, and there are, you know, you have to have the dark to have the light, and so there has to be a balance. And there's periods of time where we're overcome more with the dark energy and as a planet than other times where, you know, and people feel it and they know it. They just don't call it that, or they don't know, you know what that is. But I have not yet done a house clearing or anything like that where I've dealt with something, the equivalent of, you know, like The Exorcist or something, you know. I don't think I would. You know, I just like to make houses feel good for people, and, you know.
I would. I don't care. I've actually done some research on the original site of The Exorcist, and we set up cameras and stuff. They were having red man sightings when they remodeled the rectory where the exorcism took place, which was actually a little boy in real life. But anyway, so as far as these different kind of phenomena, have you found that a lot of times people get confused? Because I mean, there's a lot of bleed over. I mean, everything's not ghosts, everything's not Bigfoot, everything's not UFOs, but they kind of, at some points, you don't know which one's which or what's going on. Yeah. And have you had any kind of experience with things that you thought might be not of this earth, and not necessarily interdimensional, but maybe they came extraterrestrials?
No, as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, you know, I've spent a lot of time at Area 51 researching all the UFO stuff. I lived in Vegas for 4 years, and you know, I actually crossed the line, went into Area 51. I didn't know I was doing it. And lived. I didn't know I was doing it. Did they threaten
your existence?
They yelled at me, the security, they're pretty scary when it's pitch black out there and you can't see anything, and then you hear this voice. And I have mega stories about Area 51. But no, I haven't actually that I'm aware of, you know, but hey, look, Aquarius moon, I could be sitting next to aliens and I wouldn't care or know. So, you know, they're all just things, people, whatever.
But you teach classes in astrology and also tarot reading and psychic development. And where do you teach those? Do you come to events and teach those, or do you have a certain place?
Yep, all of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah, I teach at some of the stores in town. Sometimes I'll put something together at one of the stores. I have an office right now. I have a very small group of students that I started a very big beginners class in astrology, and as you know, as it goes, people drift off and they, you know, it gets too complicated, or they really didn't want to, you know, pursue it. And now I'm down to just a handful of folks that I meet with every week, and I'm bringing them to the next level. And I'll probably do some more beginners classes. And it's as I find the time, I like to teach, because I love to enlighten people to what's going on, because there's so much there's so much confusion and so much myth about this stuff. And I'm real straight up about it. You know, I'm not a big fluffy ooey gooey person, and I don't keep, you know, it's like, it's not about the mystery. Every one of us was born psychic, for you know, lack of a better term. We all have that ability. Some of us have just honed it in different ways, and that's why we do what we do, you know. So I'm all about getting people over that stigma of, ooh, you're psychic, you're special. That's not the case. You know, astrology is a lifelong science art that I've spent a lot of time learning, and that is difficult, you know. But everybody's born with some form of intuitive gift.
Now, as far as, like you were saying, science, art, are there any kind of university degrees in like oracular divination that you can receive and that, and that type of thing?
Yeah, there are. There's actually one, and it was the first accredited astrological college. It was called Kepler College, I guess. And unfortunately, they did several years, I don't know, maybe 10 years of you know, putting students through. It was like, I believe it was a 4-year degree. I mean, it was huge. And because astrology touches on everything, psychology, and you know, it gets into all kinds of stuff. So, and then I found out just a couple of years ago they lost their accreditation. So for whatever reason, I don't know why. There's not enough people to go through it or whatever.
I guess parapsychology would be the main degrees and things like that. I know they've had some different programs in martial arts. They call it Asiatic disciplines. Where you study the history and culture and learn all different things about martial arts and that kind of thing. So I guess parapsychology would be the same thing. Now, as far as some of these less than reputable type individuals, mainly the ones that have this big palm reader sign that's got a big red hand, that's what been my experience, excuse me, that some people have bad experiences. You know, and they come away feeling terrible. I mean, that's
they do.
What you know, it's like a scam type of thing. What's going on there? Do you know anything about that? Or
Yeah, I do.
what are your feelings on that one?
You got a soapbox around here? I can
stand on it.
No, that would cause way too much controversy. Let me just say this. If you are looking for a reading, if you want to go to somebody to get a psychic reading, whatever, go to a store. Okay, or go, you know, find someone that's recommended by a store. Ask somebody, a reader that you know, maybe whatever. Do your research though, because there is a community of people who are out there and they do nothing but what's called cold readings, and they just read you and you come in and you're terribly distraught and they say, oh, poor baby, we'll fix you, I'll make this man love you, I can do this. First rule is nobody can do anything for you. Nobody can fix your life. You have to fix it yourself, okay? That's just the way it is. So anybody that promises you they'll make a man love you, and you know, or they'll bring this guy back, or they'll do this or do that for you, bring you all kinds of riches, but you have to pay them thousands and thousands of dollars. Run like hell. Yeah. Run. It's not real. You're not getting a real reading. A reading should empower you to make the right choices. A reading should bring light and insight to you and not make you feel helpless and drain your bank account. You know, I get the remnants of what's left of these people that have been robbed by these people regularly, and they come to me, and it's like, I've driven them to the police station to make the reports. I don't mess around with them. They're bad, they're evil, they're, you know, and... Yeah, that was my experience. I just wanted to have a fun reading that was actually at an Oktoberfest celebration in Clarksville, and I got on a bad gypsy wagon, and this older lady was just really so serious, like, you know, if you pay me $500, I'll pray for you and you will get results. I'm like, oh, well, can't I pray for myself? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can pray for yourself. But I just had such a bad taste in my mouth after that. And that's why people freak out about readers and stuff. It's not like that. It should never be like this. I mean, I just gave this huge lecture to somebody today that came into one of the stores where I work, and I was like, you know, she had been taken, sold a little piece of quartz for $200. Oh my God. I mean, I'm like, really? Okay. So you got to do your own research, and you got to, you know, you got to, you can't be looking, you know, some people, they want somebody to fix them, and they'll pay anything to give them some hope. But, you know, find somebody who's reputable, please. But false hope is not good in the end. No, and you know, and there's bad readers out there. I mean, and there's readers that you just won't connect with, you know, that maybe not a great experience. So you've got to do the research. But always, like, I just tell people, go to a brick and mortar store, like where there's people, there's retail stuff, where they have a reputation, you've heard of them before, and if you don't like any of their readers, they can refer you to people, because I know there's readers that have gone through some of the stores that now read out of their homes and things, and that are really fantastic in Nashville and anywhere really. But you want to start at the stores, because that's, you know, they're not going to pull that, because they'd be shut down in a minute, you know.
You were talking about living in Salem, Massachusetts, and the witches and everything. How do you advise people that are dabbling in witchcraft or the occult or dark arts type things, or messing with Ouija boards, for example? What do you tell people about that kind of stuff?
I really don't have any judgment about that.
Yeah.
No, get me going about these other people, yeah. But, no, everybody has their own path, and I'm cool with that. It's like, I choose not to do that. When I was younger, of course, everyone had a Ouija board, in my age group.
Parker Brothers.
Yeah, and I found it to not be very a good thing for me to play with. I also found that dabbling in the, other arts, you might say, were not very good things for me to dabble in. I was doing them with ill intentions, though.
Yeah.
You can, any of Wicca is a beautiful religion. It really is. It's about the earth, and it's about connecting. The pagans are all about connecting with Mother Earth, and they just do it different,
sure.
Than other people. And so they have rituals and they have things. And for me, it just, once I realized how beautiful it was, it just got to be, well, it's a little complicated for me.
Yeah.
It just didn't suit me. Like some people are you find your own path, and it's just not my path. So I would never, I wouldn't necessarily advise anybody not to do it. It's, you get with a really good coven that's doing some positive work and making some really positive changes and empowering people instead of always watch that. Are they taking your power or are they empowering you? Right. And it can be really helpful.
And you do all level of events, everything from private birthday parties to huge corporate events or festivals, carnivals, whatever. But as far as, and you advise people, like you said, about their personal lives and problems or finance or romance or, that type of thing. But do you ever make predictions, like psychic predictions, or do you ever, have knowledge of more broader scale type events? Yeah,
once a year I will put together my annual predictions, and that's a type of astrology that's called mundane astrology. And we're just talking about astrological now. Every day, every time I do a reading, I'm making predictions based on the planetary motions. I use tarot in my readings as well. And so, we're looking at mostly insights, though. It's like, okay, this guy, well, look, he's probably never really going to commit to you because he's got a problem over here. It looks like he might have some alcohol or drugs or something going on here. Oh, yeah, that's what it's an easy prediction, when you see something like that. But in specific things, it's always kind of fun when somebody says, oh my God, everything you told me happened exactly that way. It's like, wow, that's really cool, but it's not about that, as much. But as I said, once a year, I'll go and I'll do like an annual, I'll do a class or whatever.
Do you ever have like that alcoholic guy come up to you later and say, hey, I want to read, tell me where I go from here?
I had two people. We do these things at Goddess in the Moon, as a matter of fact. We do these round tables. And there was an event that we did. Is 5 people at a table, and you read each person, and then the next person comes to the table, and they read everybody. It's a blast. It's really, really fun. She does these 2 or 3 times a year. Anyways, I had a couple sitting at a table one day, and I saw he was ready to leave her. And she was really, controlling him, and she controlled his whole read. It was crazy, and I'm just sitting back and I'm going, so your next year will be full of changes. Like, what am I going to say? The couple, they're sitting there together,
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can get into some uncomfortable situations. But one thing I don't do, I don't lie, but I'm very careful about my words.
Only by omission. You just leave certain things out unsaid.
Yeah, just, changes can mean a lot, Are they good changes or are they bad changes?
I was once dating a very psychic individual, and she told me, well, we're not going to be together in a year. I'm like, okay.
What do you do with that?
And then she said, as a matter of fact, you're going to be with this specific person 2 years from now. And y'all are only going to be together for like 3 years. And it all came true, and I was like, wow, that's too strange.
Wow.
Now, if people want to contact you, and we'll have your contact information up throughout the show, but tell us how, any websites or email or phone number that you want to give out.
It's real simple. It's astrogirl12.com, ASTROGIRL 12.com. Don't forget the 12. There's a lot of Astro girls out there, but I picked the 12. The 12 signs, 12 houses. So 12 is a very magical number. But astrogirl12.com, and that has everything out there. As a matter of fact, there's even a link on that on my website to the Gypsy wagon, and you can see a little video of it. Well, the video you'll still have this on the show. On here, yeah. And get information about that, about renting it. The Gypsy wagon is for rent. It's been doing all kinds of really cool fairs and festivals and stuff, but you can rent it for parties and whatever, you know, any events you have. It's great, you know, it's a great thing, like if you have a store that you're doing like an anniversary party or or an opening or something, you park that thing out in front of it, people are going to come by to see it. It's gorgeous at night with all the lights and everything.
And people need to, you were giving me you were doing a little bit of my chart before the show, and people need to know what hour, if possible, of their birth, because that's very significant, right? Not just the day and year, but even the hour. Right.
Now, if you don't not come, because what we do is we use noon as the time. Well, you know, you generalize, and because the you know, certain planets are going to be hitting certain planets no matter what. If you're doing, you know, transits to natal, astrologers will know what that means. But but yeah, so we can guesstimate. But there's also a way, if you really want to know. Like I did this for somebody, and it blew his mind. He was so happy. He never knew his birth time because he was adopted, and the records were sealed or whatever, and he could never find them. And so we did something called rectifying, and that is, I'll ask you a series of questions and kind of adjust the chart back and forth until we come up with your accurate birth time. And it's really cool. It just takes a really long time to do that. But I got his chart, and he was so excited. He wanted copies of it, and then he was posting for days on Facebook, I'm reading all about Libra rising. I'm so excited. I never knew this about myself, you know. And it's like he found himself, you know, by knowing his chart, and it was really cool. Astrology can really, really make a huge impact in your life. It's not just about, you know, hey, what's going to happen next week. It's about who you are and what, you know, what great things what great potential you can achieve in your life.
And when you're doing a reading, do you, like, pick up on, you know, if you're doing a tarot card reading, for example, you're reading the cards, but there's other information that comes to you, right? Separate from, that's just kind of a
Lots.
part of the process, but there's other stuff.
Yeah, that's why I use the cards, and you know, and astrology is a great tool for me, because it's, you know, if I took it all away, yeah, I mean, I'm going to get the information, because what I guess it's clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. Those are the three. I don't actually, I don't see spirits as much as feel them and hear them. So when I do the mediumship, it's, you know, I'm hearing them, I'm kind of seeing them, but it's weird.
It's more auditory,
yeah. And but when I get into somebody's chart, what I do is it's a couple of different styles of astrology. It's evolutionary astrology and also what, you know, intuitive astrology, and that's its own art. So the chart talks to me, and I literally, I mean, there'll be times where I feel, Tony, like I've crawled into somebody's chart, and I'm looking around at all the planets, and it's like, wow, you know, I'm really in this person's world, in this person's head, because your whole life is in your chart. Everything, past lives, future lives, everything is in a chart. And so it's profound, deep information that you get from it. So so yeah, and then a lot of times too, with this Neptune shift that's happened recently, it's making what's called a trine to my Sun-Neptune conjunction. And what's happening is I'm getting more messages, clear messages from the other side. So they'll usually the hair in the back of my neck will stand up, and I'll be like, okay, and I'll know I got to pull some cards. There's a message for the person that's going to come through the cards. So so I like the tools, because I'm all, you know, as you can tell, I do a lot of things. I'm all over the place, and it focuses me a lot better.
Okay, here's my weird off the wall question.
Yeah.
In all your years of experience, what's the weirdest or strangest or just most impactful experience?
Oh man,
I know it's hard to
weirdest or
judge
strangest?
them because there's so many, but
yeah,
just give us one. Just one of the quirky ones.
Oh my God, I was gonna, you know, you caught me off guard with that one. There really have been such strange ones. I guess the one that keeps coming to mind, I guess, is the one I should share. It's really not that big a deal. It's very common, but it was so specific that it kind of almost blew me away.
Right.
I did a phone reading for a lady, and she called me up. She said, I have a job interview in an hour, and I need to know if, you know, are they going to offer me this job? My friend hooked me up with this, and she said that the lady's going to make me an offer right there today. And so I flipped the cards. I'm like, no, no. And the woman wouldn't stop. And I'm like, no, stop talking. Okay. No, you're going to walk in. You're going to interview with 2 guys. They're going to tell you that you're not qualified for the job, but there is somebody else who's going to interview you, a woman. She's going to offer you a job in her department, but it's going to take a couple of weeks before they get you in there because something has gone on in there. There's some confusion. Yeah. And do you know, she called me and she kept saying, no, 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 that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. She called me the next day. She said, oh my God, I walked in, 2 men interviewed me. First of all, she kept telling me she was going to be interviewed by a female that her friend knew, right? She said, 2 guys were my interview. And they told me, we realized during the process that I was missing some of the skills for that job. She said, while we were sitting there, they asked me if I'd like to interview with another woman who just had someone quit in her department the day before. And I met with her, she loved me, and she's just waiting to make an offer. They're doing all the preliminary paperwork for her to make me an offer. That's so and cool. I was like, really? I mean, like that blew me away. I was like, yes.
Yeah, that is very specific.
That was, yeah, that one got me.
That's pretty exacting. Well, Astrogirl Suzie, I got one final question real quick. I won't ask you who's going to win the election, but who's going to win the debate? What's going to happen on the debate?
I hadn't looked at the debate yet. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'll tell you, at UAC, the United Astrology Conference, I was there in May, and it was like 10 days of like astro bliss. I mean, 1,500 astrologers from all over the world. Some of them, they didn't even speak English. I don't even know how they understood some of these workshops, but they took a panel of 5 people and 5 astrologers who all did different types of astrology, from Vedic to, you know, some of them were financial astrologers, whatever. They all used different methods, and they all came up with that Obama is going to win the election. However, it's still not going to be pretty. Number one, we've got Mercury retrograde on election day. So Mercury stationing to go retrograde. That's about as intense as it gets in fouling up communication. So there's going to be something going on there where it may be delayed. They may have to do recounts. There may be some hocus pocus going on. Who knows? But and then his first 2 years are going to be really bad. Really bad for him. So no matter what, but they all basically came up with the same information. And then this guy, oh my gosh, this guy came running out of the audience. He said, I've got to tell you what happened in my country. We had the same thing. And he was from Australia. And he said the same thing happened. They had Mercury stationing to go direct. They were in a Pluto-Uranus square. All this stuff happened. It took them 2 weeks to recount the election. They didn't know who was going to be the next president. And then after that, he said everything just fell apart. The guy was impeached. They got in office finally. So, yeah. So we're in for a real wild ride these next few months.
Sounds like fun to me. Well, Astrogirl Suzie, thank you so much for being our guest on Mystery Us.
Thank you. This has been awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Tony.
That's all for Mystery Us.